don't remember the exact day it started, but I do remember the moment everything broke inside me. I was sitting on my bedroom floor, lights off, phone silent, staring at nothing. It wasn't sadness anymore. It was emptiness. A numb silence that screamed louder than any voice. People thought I had it all together. Smiles on social media, jokes at work, but deep inside, I was falling, and no one saw it. I kept telling myself, tomorrow will be better. But tomorrow came, and it felt even heavier. I wasn't crying for help because, honestly, I didn't believe anyone would care. It's strange how you can be surrounded by people and still feel like you're disappearing. I stopped answering texts. I skipped dinners. I deleted old photos just to feel something. Then came the night I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the person staring back at me. And in that moment, I whispered to myself, I can't do this anymore. Not because I wanted to end it all, but because I didn't know how to keep living like this. So I packed a small bag. No plan, no destination, just the need to escape, not from the world, but from myself. I hit the road before sunrise. No goodbye notes, no final messages, just the sound of tires on the pavement and the weight of everything I couldn't say. I didn't know where I was going, only that I had to keep moving. Like maybe the road could wash away the pain. Each town I passed through felt like a new chance. A different version of me could exist there. But no matter how far I went, I kept finding myself in the rearview mirror. I stayed in motels with blinking signs and broken vending machines, ate gas station sandwiches, watched strangers laugh through restaurant windows, and wondered how they made it look so easy. Sometimes I'd pull over and just sit on the hood of the car, staring up at the stars, asking questions I didn't even expect answers to. I met a few people along the way. A hitchhiker who sang old songs with tears in his eyes, a waitress who called everyone honey, but never smiled with her eyes, a mechanic who fixed more than just my engine. He fixed a piece of my faith in people, but none of them knew the truth. I was running, not from danger, not from a person, but from the version of me I couldn't live with anymore. And every night, when I closed my eyes, I hoped the morning would bring peace. But every morning, I woke up with the same hollow heart, until one day, in the middle of nowhere, I stopped for gas, and everything began to change. It was just another stop, another nameless gas station on a road that felt endless. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the cracked pavement. I was tired, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I just wanted to fill up and disappear again. I walked inside to pay. The place smelled like dust and coffee left too long on the burner. There was no one at the counter at first. Just shelves half-stocked, a flickering light above the drinks, and silence. Until I heard her voice. Running away only takes you in circles. I turned, startled. An older woman stood behind the counter, eyes calm but piercing, like she had seen 1,000 lives, and mine wasn't new to her. I laughed nervously. "Excuse me?" She smiled gently and said again, "You're not lost. You're just ready to be found." That sentence hit me like a wave, not because I understood it, but because something inside me did. I paid for the gas, mumbled a thank you, and left, but her words wouldn't leave me. They echoed through the engine noise, through the empty highways, through my mind. You're not lost. You're just ready to be found. I pulled over that night under a sky full of stars, and for the first time in weeks, I didn't cry. I just sat there, letting that sentence wrap around me like a blanket, and I realized maybe I wasn't broken. Maybe I was being cracked open so light could get in. Something shifted that night. I didn't drive the next day. I didn't run. I just stayed, in that little forgotten place by the roadside. I took a walk down a dirt trail behind the station, just me and the wind, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't afraid to be alone with myself. The silence didn't feel like a prison anymore. It felt like a mirror. I started writing, not to be read, just to release. Pages filled with memories I had buried. The fight with my dad when I was 16. The friend I lost to silence because I didn't know how to say, "I'm sorry." The version of me I never let grow up. I cried, not like before. This time the tears weren't just pain, they were release. They were truth washing over wounds that had never been touched. I remembered a moment from my childhood, standing in the rain, arms out, laughing like the world was magic. That kid, that joy, where had it gone? Maybe it had been waiting, not lost, just waiting for me to stop pretending I was fine, waiting for me to feel, to surrender. Each day I walked more, talked less, listened more, to the trees, the wind, the small birds that didn't need an audience to sing. I wasn't healed, not yet, but for the first time, I was healing. And there's a difference. Healing doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers in stillness. Sometimes it's just breathing without guilt. Sometimes It's letting go of the need to be strong all the time. That's what I was learning. And that's when I started to rebuild. Not my life. Not yet. First, myself. I didn't plan to stay. But somehow, I did. There was a small community a few miles from that gas station. Quiet, humble, the kind of place where people still looked each other in the eyes. I started volunteering at a local food shelter. Just a few hours a day. Stacking boxes, sweeping floors, handing out warm meals. No one asked about my past. No one judged my silence. They just welcomed me, and it was in their simplicity that I began to remember who I was. Not who the world told me to be, but the real me, the one who wanted to give, not just survive. I met a woman named Carla. She had kind eyes and a soft voice. She told me something that stuck. Helping others doesn't erase your pain, but it gives your pain a purpose. That line became my anchor. I began waking up with something I hadn't felt in a long time: intention. I cleaned up my diet. I read again, books I had abandoned years ago. I journaled. I walked barefoot in the grass. I said thank you more, even for the smallest things. I started therapy, hard conversations, truths I had avoided, but each session was a brick laid down, a foundation for the life I was learning to build. Faith returned, not in a loud religious way, but in quiet moments, watching the sunrise, holding a warm cup of coffee, hearing laughter echo down a hallway, knowing I was still here, still breathing, still capable of love. I wasn't trying to impress anyone anymore. I was simply becoming someone I could live with, someone I could be proud of, and that was more than I ever thought I'd find. It had been months. The road that once felt like an escape now felt like a path back to something sacred. I didn't return to prove anything. I returned because I had changed, and I wanted to see if the place I left behind had room for the new me. Pulling into my old neighborhood felt surreal. The same trees, the same cracked sidewalks, but everything looked different because I was different. I parked the car in front of my childhood home, hands shaking, heart racing. When my mother opened the door, she didn't say a word. She just held me, tight, like she was afraid I'd disappear again. We cried, not out of sadness, but because sometimes healing sounds like silence between two people who finally understand. We sat on the porch for hours, no explanations, just presence. Later, I visited old friends. Some welcomed me with open arms, some kept their distance. And I respected both. I didn't need to fix every broken thing. I just needed to take responsibility for my part and offer grace for theirs. I walked through my old room, the posters, the books, the little reminders of who I used to be, and I whispered, "Thank you for surviving." Before leaving, I wrote a letter, not to anyone else, to my younger self. I told them everything I wish someone had told me, that it's okay to feel too much, that not being okay doesn't make you weak, that the world needs your heart, just as it is. I folded the letter, placed it under the old floorboard, and smiled, because I knew someone would need to find it one day, maybe even me again. If you're still watching this, maybe it's not by accident. Maybe something in my story echoes the quiet ache inside you. I don't know your pain, I don't know the weight you're carrying, but I know what it feels like to break quietly, to smile on the outside while screaming inside, to want to disappear just to see if anyone would notice. But here's the truth I had to learn the hard way. Your story isn't over, not even close. The pain, it's real, but so is the healing. So is the growth. So is the second chance. You're not broken, you're becoming, you're not lost, you're on your way to being found. You don't need to have all the answers today. You just need to take one step, then another, and then another. Maybe that step is resting. Maybe it's crying. Maybe it's asking for help, or finally forgiving yourself. Whatever it is, let it be enough. This life, your life, it still has chapters to write, moments to feel, people to love, a future to build. So if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. You are allowed to begin again. You are allowed to come home to yourself, and you are deeply, wildly, unbelievably loved, no matter what. Now take a breath, hold it for a second, let it out. That sound, that's life. Still here, still yours.